Welcome to the Write Academy. I'm Matthew R. Miller. Today, I would like to talk about editing. Editing is basically having a person look at your writing, look at your work, and that person is going to have the experience, the qualifications, the knowledge to tell you how to improve your work. There are different kinds of editing which we'll talk about. I want to say this first. We can never edit our own work the same way someone else can. Now, yes, we should do self-editing. I'll talk about that in a moment. But when it comes to the main substantial editing, we can never see our own work objectively, okay? I believe that. Recently, you may have followed the news, a piece of art that was a banana taped to a wall sold for several $1,000,000. And some people look at it and say, that's ridiculous. It's a banana. That buyer has more money than sense. But the artist said it's a statement, artistic statement on what is art. What constitutes art? Does a banana taped to a wall constitute art? It's, the question of what is art has been asked for all of human history. And so the way one person views something is different from the way another person does. Listen to music. Your friend's going to have a different interpretation of the song than you. So when you write a story, you can never see it completely the way other people can never view it completely objectively. You're going to miss things because everything is read through the filter of our minds. Okay? Every writer needs an editor. Do not use AI like Grammarly for editing because it's a bot. It doesn't understand context, style. It's never going to be the same as a human editor, and it's no good. Grammarly is designed for editing, for basically emails, right? For business English. And it has a lot of fundamental flaws. I've seen it made many mistakes when it comes to situations where two possibilities are correct. It might choose the wrong one. Don't use AI editing. It's not editing. Use a real human editor, and it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay off. Trust me. Now, let's talk about how to choose an editor. You want someone who has experience, qualification, training, and references, especially in the genre you write in. So I write horror. I'm not going to choose a romance editor for my work because they don't understand horror the way horror readers do. Some editors can do more than one genre. That's fine. You want to try to find people with training and experience in editing. That's not to say that someone who's not a trained editor or doesn't have academic qualifications cannot become a good editor. They can. But if you want to find someone who is right for your work, look for the right genre, look for someone ideally with the training experience, and ask them for some references. Ask them for references of work they have edited. Read it, see if you like it. Because even though editing, it's an art and a science, and different editors will have different views of a work. And so someone who edits your work might see it one way and you might not like it. That's okay. You're the ultimate boss when it comes to the editor. You can take all of their suggestions or you can completely ignore them. It's up to you. Let's talk about the different kinds of editing. So we have basically, there's developmental editing, and this, I'm going to go in the order that these should be done. Developmental editing basically is the biggest, broadest editing, but in my opinion, the most useful. It's going to have an editor read your book, read your work, and take a very deep dive into the content itself. So it's a big picture editing, but that doesn't mean it can't be detailed. It's going to look at things like this. Does it make sense? Does it flow well? The ideas you're trying to put forth, are they clear enough? Are you saying them in a logical way? Are there plot holes? I have, in some of my work, I've actually accidentally brought dead characters back to life without remembering that they had died. That's the kind of thing a developmental editor is going to do. They also might say, well, this person cannot be in this situation because in chapter 2 you said that they were blah, blah, blah. Very, very useful. Developmental editing is going to look at the writing and make sure it makes sense, make sure that it is put together in a way that communicates best what you want to communicate as a writer. And it's going to fix many internal problems. The next kind of editing is structural editing, very similar to developmental editing. But this, as the name indicates, looks at the structure of the book. So, are you following the 3-act story, or the hero's journey, or something else? Are you structuring it right? Does it have a conflict? Does it have a climax? Does it have a resolution right at the end? Now, A structural editor, by the way, is going to go deep into the characters also. Look at the characters as people and see whether they act consistently, that kind of stuff. Whereas structural editing is focused mostly on the structure. So look at it like building a building. The structure is the steel beams, reinforced concrete, whatever. I don't know construction that well. When they're building a tall building, you see that, right? Like the skeleton. That is a structural editing. Developmental editing is the decoration inside and putting the rooms together inside. Next, you have copy editing. Copy editing is going to look at things like grammar, your choice of words, your syntax. Are you using cliches? Is your writing vivid? Is it, do you use the passive voice when you could have used the active? Do you use a long multi-syllable word when a shorter word could have made a bigger impact? Things like that. Line editing is going to go through your work line by line. That's why it's called line editing. So whereas copy editing is kind of a bigger picture, line editing goes line by line, as the name indicates. It looks at some of the same things. So a copy editor is going to look at your phrasing and how it comes across to the reader. Whereas a line editor is going to also look at that, but focus on things like making the writing clear. Okay, so it's a blurry line between line and copy editing, frankly, and some editors consider them the same thing. Finally, mechanical editing. This is for mechanics: grammar, syntax, spelling, typos, typographical errors. Instead of, I do this all the time when I want to say from, I accidentally type form, right? And a mechanical editor will find that. They will look at your punctuation, your abbreviations, your style, your dialogue, is the comma in the right place, that kind of stuff. Very, very useful, because when a reader picks up a book, it could be a great book, but if they're finding a lot of mechanical problems like commas where they shouldn't be, or misspellings or typos, repetitions, that's annoying, and it makes your writing look amateur. Okay, so you need all those kinds of editing. You need developmental editing, structural editing, copy editing, line editing, mechanical editing. And some editors will offer that as an all-in-one package called comprehensive or, inclusive editing. I edit also. I'm an editor in addition to a writer, and I like to offer the big package because I taught for years at university. I taught mechanics of writing. I taught composition, things like that. But I also am an avid reader and writer of fiction myself. So I can look at it from both sides. But an editor worth their salt is going to be willing to do it comprehensive or one kind of editing only, or a combination if they are qualified. They also might say, look, I'm a developmental editor, but I'm not let's say a copy editor or a mechanical editor, so I'll do the big picture, and then you find someone else who's an expert in that. How much do editors charge? Most editors charge by the word, and their price is based on their background, experience, qualifications, past successes, references, and also, frankly, what they can get. It's like a market, right? I mean, if you could do something for $100 or $1 million, which one would you take, right? So most editors are going to charge somewhere between 4 cents a word to 10 cents a word, and sometimes even higher. I can guarantee you the person editing, let's say, Harry Potter series is charging 12 to 15 cents a word. I don't know that for a fact, or they might have a set fee, but it's a lot. Whereas someone who is just getting into editing might start off with 4 cents a word and prove themselves and work their way up from there. Editing is expensive, as you might do if you do the math in your head. 10 cents a word at 100,000 words, let's say, how much money is that? It's a lot of money, right? Whereas even 4 cents a word at 100,000 words is a lot of money. That's thousands of dollars. Don't be surprised when an editor quotes you this price. If you have someone saying they'll edit your book for $25 or $100, watch out. They might be real, but they're probably a scammer, or they're probably going to run it through Grammarly and claim they edited it. No really professional good editor is going to undersell themselves. Now, if you're like me, an editor like me, sometimes if I need the work, right? I don't have a lot of editing work right now, and if someone says, well, 6 cents a word, would you consider 5 cents a word? I might say, sure. By the way, it depends also on the kind of editing. Developmental editing costs more than, say, mechanical editing. And it all depends on a lot of factors. Some editors prefer to charge by the page or even by the hour. I recommend finding someone who charges by the word because it's the easiest to verify, right? If someone says, okay, I worked on your book for 10 hours, if you trust them, great, but will you really ever know? Did they do it for 8 hours and add 2 on? By the page, well, different formatting produces different numbers of pages. By the word is the best way to do it. So look for someone who charges by the word. Now, let's talk about self-editing for a moment. When you're writing, as you're creating, don't stop and self-edit when you're in the flow. So let's say you write, 10 pages in a day. While you're writing that 10 pages, don't stop and go back and say, I should have done that. Keep writing. Just ignore it. Keep writing. Then when you finish, and when you finish that section, and finally when you finish the whole work, you're going to go through it once, even twice, even 3 times yourself to see how it sounds to you. You're going to fix things you see that are wrong. You're going to change some things. This is self-editing. You should do this before you hire a professional editor. You certainly should, but you shouldn't only self-edit. Like I said, we can't see our work objectively like other people can. And if you want to try to publish a book, if you want to try to query a literary agent, find a publisher, or even self-publish, trust me, you're going to want to present a manuscript that is professional and crisp and perfect, okay? A lot of people will write a book, they'll self-publish, let's say on Amazon, upload their first draft with no editing, no professional editing, and frankly, it's terrible. It comes out as crap, and no one buys it. The first thing you need to do is write a good book, but then you need to have it edited. Self-editing, professional editing, polished, smooth. Different editors will have different contract contingencies. Always insist on a contract. Read it. You both sign it. That way you have some protections for both people, both parties, if someone does something wrong. Always agree on how you're going to pay. Some will say, I want half up front, half when I'm finished. Some might say all of it when I'm finished. Some might say pay by the month, by the week. That's negotiable. And also, an editor is going to say, I'll offer you a certain number of revisions. So here's my editing. If you don't like it the first time, I'll go over it again, but that's it. Others might say, what you see is what you get. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. Others might say unlimited revisions, especially if it's a high-paying job and they want to keep that client, then they might offer that. I have right now a potential ghostwriting client who, it's a great job, it pays well, and I'm offering unlimited revisions. Why? Because I know, A, the pay is really good, and then B, this person happens to be pretty prominent, and if they like my work, they recommend me, I get a lot more jobs, okay? So all of that's negotiable, basically. If an editor is charging too little or too much, beware. I'll edit your book for $50. That's not that's a scam. I'll edit your book for $1 million. That's a scam, right? So look for that anywhere from 4 to 10 cents a word range, depending on the editor, on what you want from them. Keep in mind, you don't have to agree with the editor. You can actually ignore everything they say and say, no thanks, I liked it better the way it was before. Most people won't do that because a good editor will point out things you'll see that need to be changed. You can accept all of their changes. You can accept some. That's up to you. Remember, you're the boss. It's your work. It's your book. When it comes to things like non-negotiable things, an editor will never, or a professional editor will never try to take any of your copyright rights away from your work. The work is 100% yours, period. No matter what they say, if you change it, if you follow every single one of their changes, it's still your work. And be sure that is in the contract also. Some editors will give in fact, all editors will give a time frame. Some might say it'll take me 3 months to do this, do this book. Some might say it takes me 6 months. Some might say a month. It depends. I consider 3 months a pretty good standard amount of time it takes to substantially edit a book. All the different kinds of editing we talked about, especially structural. 3 months is okay, but it's not the only possibility. And be sure to have an agreement in your contract. What if it goes longer than that? Then do you pay more? Do they owe you money back? What's going to happen? Is it a hard deadline? If they say, I can probably finish it by, June 1st, is it going to be 12 a.m. June 1st, period? Are you refunded some money, or are they going to say around June 1st? So you need to watch for things like that. If you can afford it, have an entertainment lawyer or a literary lawyer look at the contract and make sure it's reasonable, right? And then, so that's my advice for editing. I hope that helps. If you're a new writer, please find a way to have your book edited. If you can't afford it, I totally understand. It's a lot of money. If you can save up to do it, great. If you ask for a discount, sometimes they will. If you can pay over time, some editors will agree to that. but it's absolutely essential that your work be edited professionally. It will make your work so much better. And remember, an editor is not changing your writing. They're not writing it for you, okay? It's still your work. They're just polishing it a little bit. One last thing, if a work is written so poorly that it's beyond help, I hate to say things like that, but an editor might not want to edit it. So before you think about editing, be sure to get the fundamentals of writing down. Write, read, come up with a good work, and then send it to be edited. Okay, that's just my advice. I hope that helps. Please like and subscribe. You're watching the Write Right Academy with me, Matthew R. Miller.